So in question 6, we're doing something kind of similar. We're reflecting line segment CD over y equals 4 and then over the x-axis. So let's draw in our line y equals 4. Remember, this is the y-axis. This is our x-axis. So y equals 4 is going to cross the axis at y is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to be here, and it's going to be a horizontal line parallel to the x-axis. So let's make sure we draw it like that. Okay, so here is our line, y equals 4, and the first reflection has to be across this line. So let's reflect C. C is 1 unit above the line of reflection, so we've got to make C prime 1 unit below. And D is 1, 2, 3 units above, so D prime is 1, 2, 3 units below. Okay, so this is the result of the first reflection. Takes us from CD to C prime D prime. So far, so good. And now the second reflection is over the x-axis. So the x-axis, we already know where that is. Let's go ahead and let's reflect this line C prime D prime over the x-axis. So D prime is 1 unit above the x-axis. D double prime would be 1 unit below. C prime is 1, 2, 3 units above the x-axis. So C double prime would have to be 1, 2, 3 units below. And that gives us C double prime, D double prime. Okay, good. So let's write in the coordinates for C double prime and D double prime. C double prime down here is negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. Well, let's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then negative 1, 2, 3. So negative 5, negative 3. And the coordinates of D double prime are going to be negative 1, negative 1. Okay, good. What conclusion can be made about C, D, and C double prime, D double prime? I think we could say the same thing that we said for the last problem. In other words, we have equal measures, and they're both parallel. So let's write that down. And what single translation would take CD into C double prime, D double prime? Well, this has got to be a purely vertical translation, right? There's no movement to the right or to the left. C is directly above C double prime, and D is directly above D double prime. The only question is, how many units do you have to translate? So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the same thing for D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 0 units to translate in the x direction, and negative 8, we're going downward in the y direction. And so if we write it as a translation, we would have T sub angular brackets 0, comma, negative 8. What is the point of these two problems? It basically is the answer to number 7. A composition of two reflections. Okay, what composition really means is that if you do two reflections consecutively, like we did in both these problems, we reflected over one line and then we reflected over another. When you combine two reflections together, you get a composition, or putting together of reflections. So a composition of two reflections across parallel lines is equivalent to a, well, we sort of said it in both of these problems, translation. And that's really the major point that you're supposed to get from problems 5 and 6, is that any time you perform two reflections across parallel lines, you end up with a translation.